Hello, everyone, and welcome to J Forex House. I know you guys haven't heard from me in a while about the YouTube series and stuff like that, but I'm back now, and I'm here with some interesting videos which would definitely give you some educative knowledge. Okay, so on today's video, we'll be talking about order block traps and how to spot high probability order blocks. Okay, so on today's section, um, basically, I've had a lot of questions about how do you pick the order blocks and how to actually do you actually get these high probable order blocks, which are you know very difficult to spot since we have order blocks lying all around on the chart. As you can see from here, we have some over here which were profitable, and we have some over here which were invalidated. All right, so today's section, we will be using this opportunity to learn how to spot order blocks, which are, more stronger than some. How to avoid being trapped in stuff like this, avoid being trapped in stuff like this, and how to pick stuff like this, and probably get a direction on where it's heading and where to take profit from, okay? So, first of all, what is an order block? Now, I know this is a very easy question. We have a lot of people who know the answer to this. We have a lot of traders who have different perspective of order blocks and different understanding of order blocks. And this in particular has caused a lot of damage when it comes to understanding, smart money concepts. Now, that's not being the case. We are just here to talk about order blocks. Okay, so I do have some videos, some series which actually explains order blocks below on the channel. So maybe when you're free, you can also go back to that and watch the order block episodes 1 and 2. So you could also get some insight on how the order block actually works. Okay. So on today's section, we're just going to be talking about how to spot those trappy order blocks to avoid them, and how to also spot those high probable order blocks which we'll be using to trade in the market. Okay. So now when we talk about order block, a lot of people seems to get this impression that we're talking about that, bearish candle, that last bearish candle, probably before, the big bullish drive. I know some of you might be saying, yeah, that's clearly what an order block means, but there's a lot to this, okay? There's a lot you have to understand into this. Now, when we say order blocks, we don't just mean the last bearish candle, before that big momentum which comes in, to take price on the downtrend or an uptrend. Okay, we're talking about not just this, but the main confluence which makes this a point of interest. Okay, now when we talk about order blocks, which was originally originated from the ICT, and when he spoke about this stuff, he said that particular candle, which that has a lot of momentum in it, that last candle which cleared out that liquidity, which did that stop hunt, all right, and then was the drive which created the swing high before the momentum. All right, so if we were to pick a swing high, adding those confluences together, we will be picking an order block at a swing high or a swing low position. Okay, so if you are looking for an idea of an order block, basically, I think this is one of the conditions you should write. Another block is high probable when it's at the swing high. All right, it's likely to hold, it's likely to be respected when it's located at a swing high than when it's actually located, probably at equilibrium or maybe in between the range. All right, some of you use the Fibonacci retracement level, and you don't really, get to pay attention to what level you are actually picking the order block from. All right, so you need to understand this stuff, because if you on an uptrend, all right, you should understand that we had a break of structure here. And if you want to pick another block within this range from here to here, your other block should be around the swing high or the swing low position, which means your other block should be around this area. All right. Now, second credentials, we know we want to look at that particular candle, which was the initial drive to the upside. All right. So you want to look for that last candle, that last bearish candle at this particular area, which caused this drive. All right. So that candle here is the order block which you're going to be refining into. So it becomes a point of interest which you want to observe. Okay, so this way it helps you to actually identify when the order blocks is actually in a very respected zone, a very strong zone, and also when it's in a trap zone. Okay, so now looking at the live chart over here, you can see multiple times we had other blocks which were respected, and as you can see, these other blocks are created around swing highs. You know, we know this is a downtrend right now, right? So you can see these other blocks were created around swing highs and were highly respected. Right now, so let's zoom in a little bit. I know some of you might be saying, is this a swing high? Is this a swing high? All right. Which other one? Which other one? Let's say, is this a swing low? Is this a swing low? So why was that also respected, and why, you know, how do we know when to pick any of them? Now, if you look closer here, you could easily see that we had an internal structure which was formed in kind of like a form like this, right? So which means on the lower time frame, this is actually a swing high. All right, so we're picking another block at the swing high if we're picking this particular order block also, you know. So this, you can say it's a swing high, yes. And also same thing goes for this guy. All right, so it doesn't have that swing high formation, but at the same time, you could see this high was the drive which break this structure. All right, so you should understand that if this caused this, which makes this a swing high, although it's also a liquidity target as well, but we're just going to be dealing only on order blocks, not, you know, the full SMC patterns. And you can check multiple videos on, or you could go to our chat on our Telegram channel, which the link is on the description below, which you can see multiple charts where I drop, multiple times where I drop my analysis on different pairs, which can also help you out, you know, in your trading as well. Okay, so now back to this. As you can see, one of the credentials for picking a proper order block is having, you know, the order block at a swing high or a swing low position. So you can refine that down to the last, you know, candle which caused that manipulation at the swing high or the swing low position. All right, so that particular candle, which might be bearish, might be bullish, but is at that point of swing high, of the swing high, which did the manipulation, is where we want to put our interest for picking a proper order block. All right, so on the second, we have an inducement. All right, so on the second credentials, we have an inducement. Is the order block having an inducement in it? Is another block being induced by something? All right, so as you can see, having the order block at a swing position doesn't guarantee your order block is going to be, you know, respected, because as you can see, we had a swing high here, and I can tell you, although we didn't have this little reaction on lower time frame, we would have a proper order block or a point of interest around this zone. Okay, but at the same time, is this guy being induced? Yeah, because it's being induced by this order block here. That was one of the reasons why the reaction from this guy was really slow and not reliable. As you can see, we got it validated. Okay, so is the order block being induced? Now, speaking of inducement, this guy. So we see this guy over here. We see the fair value gap below it, you know, as you can see. But is it being induced? Yeah, we had this, you know, little play of resistance, drawing a lot of traders' attention. As you can see, we had this big movement to the upside, which mitigated the order block. And on the lower time frame, we have multiple, you know, stop hunts and stuff like that, which also did some manipulations at that zone. So we will be creating a video on lower time frame confirmation. So when that video is out, I would also give an explanation on what to look for when you're in this zone and what to actually have as a confirmation from the higher time frame at the same time. But for this series, we're only going to be talking about order block, okay? So back to this. Is the order block being induced? Now, first of all, we know the order block wants to clear liquidity, right? So we want to see this movement. Now, which brings us to SMC. We have seen that liquidity being cleared. We know this is at a swing high position. And then if we want to see the inducement, means we want to see something like this. We want to see price do something like this. So we want to see an inducement for this order block, which gives this order block a high probability of being valid, okay? As you can see also, this kind of like forms a QM formation as well. As you can see, this being the left shoulder and this being the head. And then we can expect price to mitigate the right shoulder, which is where we want to take an interest, our POI form. And then we want to look for order block around this zone, because this is the only way you can have a high probability order block using SMC. Okay, so this is how you confirm your order blocks. First of all, you want to know if you're in a swing high or swing low position, which means you want to know which angle of the trend you're in and where you're actually coming from. right? So once you have that confirmed, you want to know if you have an inducement below you. Now you can see currently, this is not the current analysis. I'm just giving you a study section, right? We can see we have an unit base right at this point. And at the same time, we're having an inducement. Okay, so this brings us down to the third confirmation, which is a break of structure. Right? Did your order block cause a manipulation which created a lower low? If it's an uptrend, all right? If it's an uptrend, did that order block, clear liquidity and then break structure? All right, if your order block did break structure and you can clearly see the inducement which is being created at this point right now, that helps you to understand that your order block is a perfect setup for an SMC. All right, so now you have a high probability order block and you're in the right POI, for mitigation. Now, if you get invalidated, it's fine. All right, you learn from this mistake. All right, so next time you don't make such mistakes. And I'm giving you 100% guarantee that none of this was the reasons why you lost that trade. It could be probably because maybe you're picking your order block at the wrong position, which is either not a swing high or stuff like that, or you're in the wrong direction of the previous range. Okay, so maybe you're at a swing high, but maybe still at discount of the higher time frame range. Okay, so you need to be in line with multiple time frame analysis at the same time. Even if you know the credentials needed for a proper order block, you have to also make sure you are in the right direction of the previous range. So that way you know what you're doing, and you can also, have that, high winning rates to pick a proper order block. All right, now moving down to number 4, we have all 3 confirmations, which you can also use for, your order blocks, and then you can also use this as well for your breaker blocks and other stuff. But that is up to you, all right? And we will be having a different video on breaker blocks, which will also give us a little explanation on how to actually do this. All right, so moving on to how to actually confirm your when an order block is a trap. All right, when to confirm when the order block is a trap. Right now, this is something which most people don't pay attention to, right? This is something most people don't see as an importance. You don't think this is important. If you know how to pick the order block, then you should know how to avoid the traps. But this is not true. Right? You need to actually know what mistakes to avoid so you don't make those mistakes. Okay, now we will go about those mistakes, and then just take your time to process this. Write this down. If you haven't, make sure you do. One of the 3 major credentials to use to confirm your order block. Number 1 is the order block at a swing high or a swing low position. Number 2, did your order block break structure? Did your order block cause the manipulation? All right, so did the order block break structure? Number 2, and number 3, did your order block cause the manipulation, which broke structure, or did an impulsive move, which is what's taking a trade from? Okay, so now with that correct, we now move on to identifying the traps of an order block. All right, so I'm just going to take out all this. Sorry, so we can now get back to that. So now, how do you identify the trap? How do you know when to avoid the order block and when to know that this is actually being used as a trap? All right, so what we do is that first of all, we know that we have the credentials of an order block, right? So once you have that confirmed, you know that this order block is at the right position, of being valid. You have to also know that there's some other credentials which we use to understand that this is actually a trap, right? So now you know that the price is on a bearish trend. Number 1, you should know if the order block is too obvious on the lower time frame, it's probably a trap, because the lower time frame is never to be trusted, right? So when you see another block, let's go down to the lower time frame. From this I considered as a lower time frame. So as you can see, when it's too obvious on the lower time frame, it's likely a trap. Okay? Look at this. We have this right here, an obvious order block just lying around. You can see clearly. He also did break structure. Okay, we did that manipulation, but then a stop hunt. This was a stop hunt. Well, not really a break of structure. So we had the inducement, we had the manipulation, but we never really broke structure. So it did not make the 3 credentials. Okay, but so that's one of the reasons why this failed. And secondly, it's an obvious order block, too obvious. Right? This is just obvious. We can say this over here. You see how that was respected? All right, now secondly, we know this was the structure, right? So price went low, higher, high, higher, high. Then, sorry. high, low, high, low, high, low. So we had a break of structure here. So this guy did break structure. And then although we did not really, all right, so we did clear these highs, clear these highs, mitigating this. All right, so then we had a break of structure, and then we had these guys and this obvious order block inducing it. All right, so you see, this guy did make more of the credentials more than this actually did, and it's not that obvious, just lying around. So being too obvious is also a trap. So you have to avoid it if it's too obvious. Now, secondly, what do we do? Now, we have to also observe what part of the range is it in. As you can see, this would be the overall range, which would be from this high to this low. Now, where is premium and where is discount of this range? You see, this is just at the 50% of this, and this is likely being a trap because it's still within the range, right? So not outside the range, but within the range. So what do we see? When we have something like this, we expect price to return into discount, premium, to clear out all internal range liquidity resting below the 50%. So you see, this is clearly liquidity. All right, so this is some of the credentials you have to observe when you're picking another block, making sure you're not making a mistake. Okay, when it's too obvious, it's a trap. When it's resting outside your observation zone, which is either premium for a sell or discount for a buy, then you know that it's obviously a trap, and you don't actually need to, you waste your time picking that other block because it's going to get validated. Okay. Third, you have to also understand that the order block is a well-known strategy to, the algorithm. So it's going to be creating lots of bits around. So you have to also make sure you're always meeting these credentials to make sure you're in the right direction. You see, we never did have a break of structure, but we did have the manipulation. So this is a no-no. Okay, so you have to make sure you have those credentials resting around and it's not too obvious. It's not being an inducement to something else in the future or the higher time frame. Okay, so once you have those credentials resting completely, you can have this. All right, and then it's more fun, it's more reliable when you pick your order block within an IPA candle. As you can see, if I was to refine this POI right now, we have this IPA candle resting right here. Okay, so if I was to refine this IPA candle, I'll be refining down to the week because we would have a hidden order block resting within this week. And that's being our refined POI. So if I want to have a smaller risk to reward trading from that other block, it would be like this. To be, risking less to win higher, having a tight SL. So you see, it's more reliable when you have another block like this. All right. So on the next video, we'll be talking about confirmations to use on the lower time frame to confirm your trade. So maybe in that video, I'll be giving you guys some of the confirmations you can have when observing the market from this zone. All right. So when you have that POI already refined, you have that perfect POI. What do you do when price gets to that point? Why didn't I draw my tools from here? And I have them drawn from here. I have my reasons for that. And on the next episode, we will be discussing about that. And some charts will be dropped on the Telegram channel to also help you understand what we're doing and give you a lot of insights on how to actually use your order block. Okay, so if you're not in the Telegram channel, join the link in the description below and you will get to that. Okay, thank you all for watching. Thank you for being in this episode. See you all on the next one.